This is Robert Kraft, and I'm your host on SNN.Network, and we are a proud media sponsor for the upcoming Precious Metal Summit Beaver Creek, which is being held virtually this year. Joining me right now is Terry Harbort. He is the president and CEO of Talisker Resources. It's a publicly traded company. I got two symbols for you: TSK on the CSE and TSKFF on the OTCQX. So with that, Terry, thank you for joining me today. How are you doing?
Really well. Thanks very much. Very pleased to be here, and looks like a lovely day to be talking about Talisker.
Oh, just another day in virtual paradise.
Always wonderful in virtual paradise.
Oh, that's right. So, Terry, with that, let's start off with a quick overview and history of the company, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Talisker Resources is a relatively new company. We listed on the CSE in late April last year. So we've only been running for about a year and a half now. We've been very busy in that time. We founded the company on staking the largest land package that had ever been staked in British Columbia. That land package gave us control of about 85% of the Spences Bridge Gold Belt. And that initial Greenfields exploration, as that gold belt went from frontier to emerging with Westhaven Ventures' discovery of the Shovel Nose deposit, it was really what we founded the company on. But we continued on our aggressive exploration. Our first year there, over 20 geologists in the field, several thousand stream sediment samples. So very aggressive, and we're a very aggressive company. Towards the end of last year, we were looking right from the beginning for a transactional acquisition, something that could really take the value of our company forward very rapidly. We were very fortunate to be able to negotiate the acquisition from Avino Silver and Gold Mines of the historic Bralorne camp. And our belief there is that really it's the crown jewel of Canadian mining. One of the most prospective historic camps that we know. So we've worked very hard to build a very good property package. We've also worked very aggressively with lots of geologists in the field and very strong capital raises throughout that time.
And what would you say makes the company and all the land packages really unique and different compared to your peers out there?
One of the main things that really shows the strength of Talisker Resources is our management team. Our management team's been together almost the longest of any management teams out there in the gold space. Around about 20 years we've been together. We're all big company trained. So we're all from BHP, Anglo American, Anglo Gold. We all coalesced at Anglo Gold about 20 years ago as the Americas exploration team. We're all a very scientific team. We're all PhD and master's levels. So very scientific in our approach to exploration. And fortunately for us, we've been able to be very successful with that approach. So in that time together, we've been accredited for about 47 million ounces of discovery since the group came together. So what really sets the management team apart is that ability to execute and make discoveries. Our team ourselves, our personal goal is to get to 100 million ounces. The first 50, if you like, was discoveries for other people. Now we're major shareholders in the companies that we're taking forward. So our aim is to add that extra 50 so we can be part of that, and as shareholders, make some really good returns. A little bit about our exploration packages. We like large scale things. We don't like to make single discoveries. We like to make multiple discoveries. And our initial staking of that land package in Spences Bridge was controlling an entire district. And we've done a similar thing with Bralorne, even though it was an old camp. We've increased our land package there from an initial about 4,000 hectares up to 12,000 hectares, basically trying to control that entire district. So we can not just have one win for our shareholders, but actually have multiple wins going forward.
What would you say is the number one question that you've been getting asked from investors that maybe you'd like to address right now?
Well, really the number one question is how many ounces do we think there are at Bralorne? It's a difficult question to answer. We can use certain historic bits of evidence to estimate what we think the potential is there at Bralorne. The first one of those is the historic production. So Bralorne, for any of our viewers who aren't aware of Bralorne, it was the longest producing highest grade gold mine in British Columbia. So there was 4.2 million ounces produced over 50 years at an average recovered grade of 17.7 grams. So a very high grade gold mine. All of that just came from 30 veins. So an incredible rich vein, a series of veins. We're very fortunate because there was a lot of exploration done with drifting, so underground development. Not a lot of drilling. They didn't do drilling from surface in the 30s, 40s and 50s. That's a relatively new thing as drilling technologies developed in time. So most of it was drifting, hitting veins and working. So we've got a very good drift assay database in areas where they never mined. So it's about 45,000 drift assays, 3 foot wide samples. All of this is pre 43101, so none of it's compliant, but it gives us a very good guide as to where we want to explore, what the grades we can anticipate, and also how much potential there is. So as opposed to most companies who's exploring and drilling and hoping we hit veins, well, we actually know where the veins are because we can model them, we can wireframe them, we can calculate what an average grade is, we can estimate what an average diluted grade would be. So our estimate on what we think the potential is relatively accurate because we've got so much historic data. None of it's compliant, we still have to drill it. We still have to bring that into 43101 level of compliance and convert all that potential into resource. But really in answering that question, what we think is a long strike from the existing veins, we've got somewhere in the range of 1.5 to 2 million ounces on the conservative side. So we looked at what a mineable scenario would be. So modeling these veins with an average mining width, applying the historic recoveries, applying a 0 mining dilution factor. And then on the upside, about 3.5 million ounces. So we think the reality in our initial resource is going to be somewhere in between those two amounts. Of course, outside of that, we've got a lot of large-scale blue sky potential. So again, we use some historic data to estimate what we think's there. So historically, for every 50 meters that they mined in Bralorne and Pioneer, so we've only compiled 2 of the mines' data. We're still working on the 3rd mine, King. But historically, for every 50 meters that they mined, they produced on average 115,000 ounces. So to put that into a meter scale, for every meter vertically that they mined, they produced 2,300 ounces. So if we look at projecting that to depth, and these veins are what are called Phanerozoic orogenic veins or mesothermal veins, so similar to the Mother Lode style veins in the US or the Curragnult deposit in Ireland that Dalridian has, for a more topical example. We know these veins are depth continuous and long strike continuous. So if we're just to take that historic production and extrapolate that down to from where they stopped mining down to where they mined one vein the deepest, we can see potential for another 4 million ounces on top of that 1.5 to 3.5. So really, we think there's a lot of gold there.
So from what you can tell us, what would you say is the one thing that investors should look for from the company now moving forward?
Well, hard to say one thing. I'd have to say there's a few boxes that investors need to look for. We've already spoken about the management team, one of the best and most rewarded in the industry. We have to look at the assets. We look like we've got a world-class asset, both in an old camp sense with Bralorne and in a Greenfields discovery sense with Spences Bridge. Is the company well-funded? Well, we're incredibly well-funded. We've just closed a financing of $23 million. We did another earlier financing of 13 million. So we've got well over $35 million in the bank. So the ability to execute that program and the potential that we've just talked about. So as an investor checklist, Talisker ticks all of those boxes.
And with that, where can my audience go and find everything they need to know about Talisker?
Well, there is multiple places that you can check out stories about Talisker. The first and easiest one is through our website. I encourage everybody to go and have a look at some of the videos that we have there that explain the projects that we've got. It goes through in detail about the history of Bralorne and the history of our exploration. But there's also some other very interesting things that are worth looking at. We're one of the only junior mining companies in the world who has a Indigenous engagement policy that we publish on our website. We've also got various environmental initiatives that we integrate both with our First Nation communities and our local communities. So some of that's really worth checking out as well. All the other usual places are well worth looking at. LinkedIn, of course, and also on a more social front on our Facebook site's a good place to check us out.
Terry, thank you again for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. Stay safe. Good luck. I look forward to our next update.
Thank you very much. And it's a real pleasure to present Talisker to everybody.
Thank you very much. Again, my name is Robert Kraft, and I am your host on SNN.Network, and we're a proud media sponsor for the upcoming Precious Metal Summit Beaver Creek, being held virtually this year. Terry will be there on behalf of Talisker Resources, and I thank you all for watching.
Thanks very much.